Okay, so now we're recording. Yeah, so MaryTheresa, would you like to do a little introduction again, or can we just go ahead and start? Okay, great. Thank you. So let me start again. Good morning or good afternoon to you. We are going to do our webinar today about using Google tools, specifically Classroom, Forms, Drive, and Docs. So our webinar structure is we're going to talk mostly about Google Classroom, and then within Google Classroom, we have Google Documents, Google Forms, and Google Drive. We'll talk a little bit about the basics of each tool, and at the end, I give you some additional resources. So let's start with Google Classroom. Google Classroom is a learning management system, the same kind of thing as Canvas, or if you have any use with any of the proprietary tools like Blackboard or WebCT. But Google Classroom is free and it is available through Google. I'd like to start by just showing you a short introductory video that Google created to show you what Google Classroom can do. Okay, so I need to stop. Let me find the video. Where is my video? Okay, great. And here we go. Oh, it stopped. I'm sorry. There it goes. Okay, so thank you for joining me with that video. I'd like to ask a question, and you can put your answers in the chat. But one thing I wanted us to think about is when you think of a class, not an online class, just a class, the whole teaching experience, what are the things that you need for it to be a class? And I'll start. I think you need a teacher. What else do you need? Interaction, yep. Gadgets, sure. The things that we do in the classroom. I would say materials, teaching activities. Yeah. Students, yeah. I think if you don't have students, you don't really have a class, right? So, so the two basic things would be we need a teacher and we need a class. And the thing to remember about any kind of technology tool, and my friend and our friend Phil Boltz likes to remind us that the pedagogy needs to drive the technology, not the other way around. So whether you're going to use Google Classroom for a distance course or a class that you actually meet face-to-face, always remember that we're just trying to create our interactions, and these tools help us to do that. So I'd like us to go ahead and start looking at Google Classroom. So Google Classroom integrates, it's integrated with all kinds of Google tools, including the calendar, Drive, which is where you create forms and documents and sheets and drawings, and also YouTube, which I guess now is part of Google. So to get to Google Classroom, this is a nice direct way to get there. So if you just if you type this URL, it will take you directly to Google Classroom. So I'd like to just give you a second to go ahead and write that down. So now we're going to go into a class that I created to share with you. No? Yep. Okay, so if you remember in the video, to create a class, you click this create or join right here, and this will be the same for your students. So they will also go to classroom.google.com to join a class. Well, you want to create a class. Well, I already created a class for us. So here's a class card. Every class that you create, you will get a little card for you to enter that class. The first page that you enter is called Stream, and this will be the same for you and for the students. I'm not going to talk a lot about it right now because we're going to go back to it as we're talking about other things. But this is the main student interface. So I'd like to talk about what Google means by classwork. This is where you create all of the things you want for those interactions with the students. So any of your course materials, videos you want the students to watch, or articles you want them to read, or a website you want them to go to, you can create that here, as well as graded assignments. And we'll talk more about the graded assignments in just a minute. But the first two things I wanted to point out are actually on the right side of the screen. So you see it has Google Calendar and a class drive folder. So every class that you create, you will have a calendar created for it and a drive folder. And I just wanted to show you what those look like kind of quickly. So if you click Google Calendar, come on. So you'll see that it created a calendar for us for just this one class. And you can see that over here. You can see my other calendars. And I don't have any assignments due for you. I apologize. That was a joke. Okay. The other thing that it automatically creates for you is a class drive folder. So this is that Google Drive tool. Let's see if it'll open. Hopefully it will. Come on. There you go. So within the Drive folder, you can have all of your Google documents and sheets and forms and slides, anything that you want to have organized for this class. Okay, so we want to have information available to the students. So how do we do that? It's this Create button here. So when we click Create, you'll see it gives us different kinds of things we can add. I'd like to start with material. So material is things that are not graded. So this is anything you want to share out to your students. And it can be any kind of, well, let's just do one. So it can be any kind of information you want to share out to your students. You always need to give something a name or it can't save it. And let's go to Add, this button here, Add. And we can add something from Google Drive. We can add a link, a file that is not Google, or a YouTube video. I'd like to add a YouTube video because that YouTube video is kind of fun, right? Where's my URL? Just a moment. Oh, it's here. Okay, and that's the one that we wanted to see. And we click Post. And then within classwork, we can see that it's been posted here, but for the students, when they come in, they now see that there's a video posted for them. So that's material. The next kind of thing I wanted to show you was assignments. So an assignment, you'll see, looks very similar to material, but the biggest difference here is that it's actually graded, so you can give it points. So let's create a little document. I'm going to call this KZ assignment 2. Please introduce yourself. I can't spell introduce yourself. Okay. And let's say, oh, I want to have a Google document to go with that, a Google Doc. Well, if I click Create, I can choose any of these and it will make a new one of these Google tools to be available to the students. So let's say I want a Google Doc, which is the word processing program. Okay, so it created it. And here it is. And it's untitled, so we should probably give it a title. I don't know why I put capitals there, sorry. Okay. So now when we come back to Google Classroom, we can see that we have some settings here. So if we click the settings, we can have students can view the file, students can edit the file, and we can ask it to make a copy for every student. So you can go ahead and create the essay page or the page you want them to work on, and they don't have to do that. That's like one step that they no longer have to do. All right, can I make it? All right, so of course, if it's an assignment, you want to give it some points. You might want to give it a day or time that it's due. Let's make it due tomorrow. We don't need to give it a topic, and we're going to assign it. Okay, great. So now you can see that we have an assignment listed in our classwork, but let's look at the stream. Now we also have it on the stream, and it's the first thing posted because it's the most recent thing that I created. One of the things that I also like is if you look in upcoming, it tells us that tomorrow we have this assignment to turn in. So the students are reminded that they need to do these things. And if we look in classwork and the calendar again, you can see now it's shown up on the calendar because we gave it a due date. And this will be the same calendar that your students can see. I like that feature. I didn't say what I was doing there. If we look at the class drive folder, come on. You'll see now that there is an assignment page for the KZ assignment, and then there's also a template, and those templates are that's the assignment. So when students submit things, you'll be able to see them both through here, through the assignment itself, and through Drive. I don't have any students, so I'm sorry you can't actually see anything. All right, let's go back. All right, let me see. I want to show you a third kind of thing that you can post using Classwork Create, and that is quiz assignment. All right, so you'll see that it's very similar to just any kind of assignment in the way that it looks. It has, you need to put in a title, you need to say how many points, you need to say when is it due. But here's a thing that we didn't have when we were in the other kinds of assignment. We have this thing called blank quiz. And this is a Google form. As you can see, it's a Google form that is specifically a quiz. And this quiz will be linked directly to this assignment and into your classroom and into the grades. I love this. So let's go see what that looks like. Okay, so it's created a Google form for us. And at this point, it's just blank. It doesn't have any information. We have to fill in all of the information. So what do we want to call this quiz? Let's call it, how about geography? I know a little bit about geography. And in the quiz, we can give the form and description, which I interpret as the instructions, right? Okay, so answer the questions below. It's already started us off with one question, so we're going to go ahead and put some information here. Always we need to have a title to something. So we need a title or what is the question itself. So I thought maybe we would say, where is France? Okay, so we have multiple choice as one of our options, and that's the one I'd like to keep. So let's just say what continent it could possibly be on. So Europe, add option, Asia, add option, Africa, add option, South America. All right. Well, if we just deploy the quiz as it is right now, the first one is the right answer. And that's fine. So sometimes when we make a multiple choice, the first answer is the answer. But if we leave it like this, it will be the first answer for everybody. So I think what we'd like to do is say, well, what is the right answer? Okay, so the right answer is Europe, I think. And we need to say how many points is it worth. And let's say it's worth 5 points. So we checked the correct answer and we said that it's worth 5 points. Now we want every student to answer this question, so we need to make it required. That means they can't submit the quiz until they have answered this question. I want to point out this right here, these 3 dots. This always means more information. So let's click that. Okay, so we have some options. The one I wanted to point out was this one, shuffle option order, meaning it will change the multiple choice around. So each student will get this in a different order. All right, so here we are. We've got, where is France? We have multiple choice. The students will put something in the box or click one of these radio buttons, and that will allow them to answer. So if we want to make sure we know what this looks like, we can go up here to the top, and you see this eye? This is preview. This shows you what it will look like to the students. Okay, so this is what the quiz looks like so far. And where is France? You can see that there's this red star. That means that it is required. And if the student tries to submit without answering a required question, it will block them. So where is France? Well, I forgot to study, so I don't know, but I'm gonna guess it's the first one because my friend told me it was the first one. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer that. Okay, so my response has been recorded and I can view my score. Oh, I should have studied. I got that one wrong. So the correct answer is Europe. I got 0 out of 5 points, and that is my score. And because we are not students in the class, we won't actually see that in the grade book. Okay, so I've gone back to the page where you edit the quiz because I'd like to show you some other question types that you can add, all right? So if you look over on the side, the right side, you will see that there is a menu that has different symbols. This first one with the plus, that is add question. So we added a question, and it's always going to add it below the question you had previously. All right, well, let's make this one a different kind. So we're gonna make this one a short answer. And that the difference between short answer and paragraph is that with a short answer, you will tell, the difference is that you will give possible answers. With a paragraph, there will not be possible answers because it's much longer. Okay, so we're going to make a short answer question. How about, no. What is the capital of Kazakhstan? Okay, so you can see it's short answer. We are going to put in our answer key. So a correct answer would be Nur Sultan, so written in Roman letters, Nur Sultan. Now, because it's not being written in Cyrillic, maybe I want to forgive the students if they forget to put it as 2 words. So I might accept a correct answer as put it all together, Nur Sultan, right? I might also accept it if they just don't put in the space at all, but have a capital letter. So to me, all of these answers would be correct. And anything else is incorrect. I will accept these as correct. They will get the points. Anything else is incorrect. So they actually had to write something here, but I'm still going to make it 5 points. And done. Again, I want to be sure the students answer a question before they can exit the test or submit the test. So I'm going to make it required. And also, let's see what I do here. Or no, that's it. All right, so now we have a short answer. Well, I'd like to know what that looks like. Okay, France, I studied this time, so I know it's in Europe. And what's the capital of Kazakhstan? Okay, I remembered how to spell it in English, but I forgot to put my space. So let's see what happens. I submit, and I can view my score. And I got full credit because my teacher told me that this would be a correct answer. Now, you don't have to accept that as a correct answer if you were making this quiz yourself. You could say, no, that's not correct. They need to spell it with the space. In that case, that's fine. Those are your controls. You can decide what are the correct answers. Okay. I'd like to look at another couple of options for question types. Another one is checkboxes. We use checkboxes when we want the students to give more than one possible answer. So okay. So we want them to answer which of the following countries are in Europe. All right. So we have, let's say, France. We have China. Let's think of a few more. We have the United States of America. We've got a really long name. Let's think of one more. Peru. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We want one more that's in Europe. England. All right. So again, we need to, let me do that again, I'm sorry. So we need to go to our answer keys so we can give it points and give it correct answers. So what are the correct answers? France and England. And we're gonna make that one worth 5 points again. And done. Let's make it required. And shuffle option order. All right. I'd like to know what that looks like, so I'm going to give that a look again. So you can see I need to check whichever ones I think are correct. And I studied those two again. View my score. Well, I missed that question because actually only France and Europe are in, only France and England are in Europe. So it marked it incorrect because I got these two wrong. Let's add another question type. No. Okay, sorry, let me cancel that. So one of the question types is a file upload. So you may want to create a quiz where instead of students answering questions, they upload a file of some sort. That could be a short video, for example, for like a speaking and listening class, if you wanted them to record themselves explaining something. the quiz may be, you might want to set it up that way. So with a file upload, you see I haven't actually set it up to do that. You'll put in your question, of course. You can say that you only want, okay, so this question is going to be their speech about France. We only want to allow specific types of files, perhaps. Maybe a video and an audio. Maybe that's the only two we want to have. What is the maximum number of files that you want them to submit? It could be 1, it could be 10, it could be 5. What is the maximum file size? And in this case, you don't have, okay. So we've done that, and let's look down at our answer key. So instead of having an actual answer here, we can give the students some feedback just when they first submit. So thank you for submitting your video. Thank you for submitting your video. Okay, and now that's done. And we can make that one required as well. So let's have another look at what that would look like. So now we also have it as required for the students. Oh, we forgot to give it points. We'll need to go back and do that. And now students can add files. So when they click add files, they can add it from an upload, so something that they created on their phone or from their computer, from their drive, which you can see this is my drive, or something that they've previously selected. All right. All right, so at this point, I have finished making my quiz. Oh, except I didn't give this one any points. So we have to do that through answer key. And we're gonna make that worth 20 points. Okay, so I've made my quiz. I like the look of it. Students have started to send in their answers, and I wanna look at the responses. Well, I can always do that through here, through the assignment. But I can look at it here through responses. Okay, so at this point, everybody who is submitted, we have, we've got the average, the median, and the range for the scores. We have the frequently missed questions. We have what their answers were overall. We have what was, the responses to various questions, and etc. We can see the questions themselves to see how many people responded to each question and what they answered. But we can also look individually. So how did the students do? Each student, and as said, I don't actually have more than one student, but I did take the practice quiz 3 times. Okay, well, that's great. I like what I see, but all of these responses are actually my responses, and I don't really need to keep them. So what I want to do is I want to delete all of these responses so that they're not included with my grades. So I click here, and I go down to the bottom, and I delete all the responses. Now be careful that you don't do this to your live quiz with your student responses. Okay, so now there's no responses. I've created my quiz. I like it. I want to say it's due, let's say they need to have it finished by the 15th, next Monday. I'm giving it to all of the students, and I want to go ahead and assign it so they can finish it right now. Okay, and you'll see we have quiz 1. That's what we just created. Let's view quiz 1. Remember, this button always gives you more options of things to do. So we want to look at it to edit it. So we're in the edit again, and you'll notice this time it's given it the name that we gave it when we first created the form. All right. I want to view the assignment. All right, as a student, there's no student work because I have no students. If I look at the instructions, I didn't really put anything in there. And if I click this, you'll see it takes me to a preview for the students. I can't edit this. I have to tell you, the first time I made a form, I went crazy trying to figure out what did I do so that I could get back to edit this form. And it's actually quite simple. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that there's something that it's a circle with a pencil inside of it. If you click that, that is edit. And it takes you back to where you can edit the form. Okay. If you'll remember, when we first started, I showed you that there were 2 tools always available to you at the top of classwork. And these are specific to your classes for this one class. So I'd like to show you Class Drive folder again. Takes a second to load, sorry. Okay, now everything that we have worked on so far today, all the assignments that we made, the quiz, all of those things are in classroom or in your Google Drive classroom. You have access to this through your Drive. Now, if you're not sure how to get to Drive, I can show you. Just a moment. So this is the, oh, darn it, I'm not sharing. Just a moment, I'm sorry. This is the direct link to get to Google Drive. It's drive.google.com. So if we go there, okay, all of a sudden, no longer have this option. Sorry, I'm having a technical difficulty. Here we are. Okay, so we're going to go back to Google Drive. When you sign up for Google, you have access to a whole lot of tools. One of them is this thing. It's called Google Drive, and it is a file storage system. You can see at the bottom here, I have 15 possible gigs to use. I've already used 8 I've been using Google Drive for a long time, and I could buy more storage if I want, but in 15 years, I've only used 8 gigs. I'm going to show you my drive. Okay, so when I go into my drive, and this will be the same thing for you, if you click my drive, it will show you your files and folders in alphabetical order. And you can see mine start with numbers. Those are the numbers of my classes. And then if I go down, you've got my classroom. All right, and I've got 2 classes. And there's my Kazakhstan class. So I can put files in here that I want to use in creating class assignments. Okay, and there we have one. Let me see, what else did I want to show you? I know. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to show you is some more resources and tutorials that are available to you. Google has a YouTube channel specifically for using their tools in education. So it's not just how the tool works, but also how you might use the tool. Another YouTube channel I found that was very helpful is this one called New Ed Tech Classroom. This is not through Google. This is a classroom teacher, so a practitioner, and he has created an extensive set of videos about using not just Google, but other tech tools available through the internet. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Our next webinar is next Thursday. And in that webinar, we are going to talk about Google for Education. I think we have about 10 minutes and we can take any questions you'd like at this time. If you want to say the question, I can turn off, I can let you use your microphones. I saw there was a specific question about if the students will receive 20 points for the question right after submitting, or will the teacher grade it manually? I am actually not sure, but when we meet next week, I will show you where you can have all of those kind of answers. No, let me try that again. I'll show you where Google keeps those kinds of materials to answer those kinds of questions. Any other questions? MaryTheresa, did you want to? Okay. I think, okay, there you go.
So I had a question for our teachers who are connecting from Kazakhstan. Will your classrooms, will you be teaching face-to-face in the fall, or are you going to be online? Because in the US, it looks like we might be online or partially face-to-face. It's still very up in the air. It's still not decided. Okay. So these sorts of tools actually are not just for, as Mary said, they're not just for online delivery. They also can help you to flip your classroom more easily. You can have the students connect with and get the readings or watch the videos that have content in them. You could use the materials some of you have created in our project, and you could then in your classroom have discussions with the students. So I think that there's a lot of possibilities with this. It's a very powerful platform, and it's designed by Google, so it's easy even for like people like me that technology is not easy for.
Yeah. So some of the responses that we were getting to your question, they're also not sure if it's going to be in the classroom or online. Somebody was saying that they like the tools, but they actually use a different form. They use Moodle instead of Google.
Mm-hmm.
Some folks said that they're using Google Meet with Moodle.
Mm.
All of these things are really good tools, and learning management systems are all very similar. The confusion is what they call things and how you interface with the students, but the tools are generally the same.
Mm-hmm.
Our university uses Moodle. Yeah.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
All right, so we will have another webinar next week, also led by Mary, where she is going to unpack a little bit more of Google education for us and talk about resources that are available and ways to intersect those with your Google Classrooms or other Google tools. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Mary, for your presentation today, and we will hopefully see you all again next week.
Yep. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.